From the KDLM studios in Detroit Lakes, it's Hodge Podge with Carol McCarthy, presented by Partnership for Health, and now airing on TV3.
Welcome to our Zoom Earth Hour Hodge Podge. And Scott, of course, you're a Master Gardener with the Master Gardener program here in Detroit Lakes area. You also own Becker Pet and Garden, and you are going to talk a little bit about gardening this morning. You share a few things on a 7-layer garden.
Yeah, thank you, Carol. So everybody's thinking about what's happening now in the world and where can we source our food, and kind of concerned about some shortages and stuff. So at Becker Pet, and we've heard around that a lot of people are more interested in gardening this year. So I want to talk about how we can start a garden. I know many of you had grandparents, or your mom and dad had a big garden, and maybe you kind of got away from gardening. So how can we start a garden? There's one way to do it is it's called lasagna gardening, where you take some sheets of like newspaper and wet them and lay them down and put a compost and dirt on top of it. So if we're going to be doing that, how are we going to find the right spot? How should we start the process? So the first thing I would suggest is to start a map, and then grab a piece of paper and have a map of what you want to plant, and then walk around your yard and look for a place that has like full sun, at least 6 hours of sun. So find a spot in your yard where you could keep away from the trees. The shade's really a hard thing on a garden, so find an open spot. Another really smart thing to do would be to find a spot where you can get easy access to water. You know, like the side of your house where you've got a spigot. So you can come in and easily put a hose out there where you can water your garden, because we're going to get some dry periods too during the summer. So I have another good suggestion. And here my dog is coming to visit this morning too. So just having the right spot, the right location to be able to start your garden, I think is really critical. And having full sun and thinking about how big of a garden should I have too, because if I'm going to be gardening, do I want to cut off more than I can really chew? So let's just talk about that for a second. What kind of garden do you want? If you picked your spot and you figured out, well, I want to start this garden, I don't think I'm going to rototill, so I'm going to follow the suggestions in lasagna garden or layer garden, which would be to put down some paper and wet it, and that way you can keep the grass from growing through, and then putting the compost and some peat on top of it. And then maybe you want to do a raised bed, so you take like a 2x6 boards and make a square out of it, and then put the compost and the peat inside the square. And one other thing I was just going to talk to you kind of briefly about, and I only got about 10 minutes to talk here too, but to reach across, you don't want a garden that is more than 5 or 6 feet across, because you got to walk around it to reach in to be able to hold it and easily pick your crops out of the garden too. So there's another, quick and easy suggestion for you, is to do that. So I think just to start a garden, I think it's going to be a great thing. What's better than having fresh radishes or fresh carrots out of your garden? Now, I can remember my dad would go out to the garden and get radishes, bring them in, get a little dish, pour some salt on it, and dip the radish right in the salt and eat it. Or he would slice up his radishes and put them inside of a piece of Wonder Bread, fold it over, and eat a radish sandwich. Does it sound really, really good this time of year to get? Nothing tastes better than fresh stuff out of the garden. It's just fantastic.
Yes. And
One
even
thing I was
just
going to mention about gardening, once you started your garden, you thought about it, you decided to do a raised bed, or you're going to try the lasagna garden by putting some compost on top of it. Either way, I think one thing that's really important is to have, like I mentioned, have a map. Here's a map of the garden I'm doing with the church. We're doing it for the food shelf. Have a map so that you can, next year, you don't want to plant the same crop in the exact same spot in the garden. So you should have a map so you can rotate your garden. I think that's really critical, and that's really important. Something else I think that's really important when you're talking about gardening is that when you get your packs of seeds, here's some packs of seeds, keep them over from year to year. So let's say at the end of this year, You harvest your garden in August, September, take out your pack of seed and say, I really like those carrots. Put a little note on there and put the seed packet in a file so you have it for next year. I got customers that come into Becker Pet and they say, Scott, do you remember what type of carrot I bought last year? Well, I really can't, So just to help yourself, keep your seed bags, make a little note on there that you really like this one. This is the one you like. I want to plant more of these next year or less, so you'll be able to remember, from year to year. Also, I'd always recommend having a little fertilizer when you start your garden. Have some 10-10-10. When you're planting your rows, sprinkle a little fertilizer down the rows. And then another little quick trick or thing I do is I mention to people, maybe sometime in July, go out and side dress your plants, add a little bit of Miracle Grow or a little bit of nitrogen alongside of the plants, like some carrots and stuff. They just love nitrogen, and a little bit in first part of July would really help them look a lot better and look nicer. So there's another good suggestion for planting your garden. And you can always come into Becker Pet and ask for questions. Otherwise, we've got real super Master Gardener group, and they have plant and pest clinics on Mondays and Fridays at the extension office. And if you have questions on your garden, you can always go in there and ask the people at the extension office that's staffed by the Master Gardeners.
All right. It's great. A great program in our community, and great to have Becker Pet and Garden in, and you at our disposal, I guess, so to speak, if you have any questions about gardening. But just a couple quick questions for you, Scott. If people, that's a great way to get kind of your fingers dirty, maybe a good day today to plan out that garden if you haven't done so already. But what about people who maybe have smaller spaces but still want to grow things? What are a couple other options for them? I know that there's those topsy-turvy tomatoes, and I've heard of crate potato growing too, and hay bale.
Last at the county fair, our Master Gardeners in front of the 4-H building, we had vegetables in a container last year. If everybody saw that at the county fair, this is an example of a topsy-turvy. If I put over here, topsy-turvy. Upside down tomato planting, like you mentioned. Very easy to do. You just put potting soil inside that container, and no blight. The tomatoes just hang down, and tomatoes are indeterminate, which means they can grow all summer. So you can get a lot of tomatoes out of one topsy-turvy planter like that. Or if you wanted to, everybody has a bucket like this laying around. We used to call them, pickle buckets. You can just cut a hole in the bottom of this and put potting soil in this and have the tomato growing right out of the bottom of this. Cool. And that's very easy, simple. And you can get lots and lots of tomatoes. I just put a little sponge in the bottom and then put the tomato plant can grow right out of the bottom. So that's another very good, simple way that you can garden. Or you can just get some pots and put them up on the deck. You can get an earth box, something like that. You can just start small, start easy, and have your little garden and have fresh tomatoes. You can just do a little planter and have fresh herbs. Well, it just sounds like a great time to have some fresh stuff on your kitchen table.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some great options there from Scott Sonstegard from Becker Pet and Garden. He is also a Master Gardener here in the Detroit Lakes area. And get out and garden. It's one of those activities that you can definitely be social distancing, using your social distancing, and in your very own backyard. Scott, I appreciate all the information you've given us today. And we've got about 45 seconds if you wanted to wrap things up.
The only thing I want to say to everybody, if you'd like to become a Master Gardener, call the extension office here, and there's a class we'll be starting this fall. That's online, and you can go through the class, and we'd love to have the community, more members for our Master Gardener group. We've got a great group. They only meet like 4 times a year, so it's not like you got to be a commitment to meet every month. We got a great group. We have potluck at somebody's house every summer, so it's a good little social group. If we can even do this social interacting after all this going on. But I hope we can get back to normal sometime this summer.
All right, Scott Sonstegard. Thank you so much, Scott. And we're
Thank you,
continuing our Earth Hour broadcast on Hodge Podge this morning. And we are going to be talking to Matt Davis next, and he is with the North Country Trail. We visited with Matt a couple days ago and talked about getting out and being able to hike this time of the year during this pandemic situation. One of the activities that actually we are kind of approved to do. So good morning, Matt.
Good morning and happy Earth Day.
Yeah, happy Earth Day to you. So let's update us. Did you hear any feedback from the trail from your appearance on Hodge Podge the other day? Did you get out and hike?
Yeah. My family, we've gone for walks right in town every day, pretty much since this has started. And it's just great to be outside, be walking around. It's even better when you can get out in the woods. Hiking at a place like Tamarack, where my family went on Sunday afternoon. We're just so lucky to have a resource like that. We went out and did a loop hike and got to hear birds, hear frogs for the first time, saw our first wildflower. So yeah, it's definitely a magical time to be out in the woods. And yeah, the North Country Trail is open. It's out there for folks if they want to go out and do some exploring. We are asking folks to do that responsibly, hike in your family group, maintain social distancing if you're out there and you encounter another group, which is probably likely to happen. There's a lot of people out there hiking right now. But yeah, get out there. It's a beautiful time of year.
Okay, and you also work with other trails in our community too. You work with biking trails and with the mountain and the Detroit. With the county too.
Mountain View.
So Mountain View, yes.
Yep.
What's the state of trails for biking? Do you know?
Yeah, mountain biking trails are a little bit behind the hiking trails. They tend to dry out a little bit later. Last time I was out at Mountain View, there was still a sign up encouraging people to stay off the trails. They're pretty soft this time of year, so if somebody's out there walking on them or riding on them, it can really damage the trail tread. So probably give those a little bit more time. But if you're itching to get out and go for a bike ride, the trail to Dunton Locks from the bowling alley is certainly a great option. My family, we've encountered lots of people out using that trail. And also, one of our family favorite biking opportunities is to bike around the lake. A great family-friendly distance, and you've got some landmarks along the way. So yeah, it's a great time to get out there on a bike.
All right, Matt Davis is with the North Country Trail Association. He is the regional coordinator for the North Country Trail, also works with a number of bike trails, a member of some of our biking groups here in town too, which I think is very cool. Very, very great advocate to get out on the trail. And a couple things from you too. We've got a couple more minutes with you, Matt, but tell us a little bit about, what's the best thing for people to wear when they're out on, say, a hiking trail like the North Country Trail?
Really, whatever they wear, whatever they find most comfortable. You don't need special clothing. This time of year, it might be good to have a pair of boots or some kind of footwear that's going to keep your feet dry, because there are, places where the trail is wet. One thing that we do encourage people to do this time of year, it is tick season. The ticks are already out, so you can spray bug spray or permethrin spray on your footwear, on your bottom of your pants. That'll help prevent some of the ticks from getting a hold of you. But the good thing about hiking is you don't really need any special, your kids' backpacks will work. Your regular clothes and footwear will work. You can go out and spend a whole bunch of money on special clothing, but you really don't need to.
All right. And, what got you into, the North Country Trail? Obviously you have a love of nature.
Yeah, I've always loved trails. I actually grew up in Connecticut in a town that had a long-distance hiking trail kind of close by, and so I've always, just gotten out on trails. I love that experience. I love that feeling of what's around the next bend. It's almost like reading a really good book. It keeps you engaged, and so I just love being out on trails. I think they're, one of our best, things that we can do, because they provide really a fantastic opportunity for people to get out and have a close experience with nature.
All right, very good. Matt Davis with the North Country Trail, one of our guests on Earth Hour Hodge Podge, celebrating Earth Day today. And thank you so much, Matt. Anything else to wrap up? We've got about 30 seconds.
Just get out there, and I would encourage folks, if you get out and enjoy the North Country Trail, considering volunteering. The trail is built and maintained by volunteers. We're always looking for new folks, and if you can check out our website, which is just northcountrytrail.org, you can learn what opportunities and what resources we can provide to volunteers.
All right, very good. Matt Davis from the North Country Trail Association.
Thank you.
And continuing on this Earth Hour today, celebrating Earth Day with our 10 guests, talking about some of the things they do in our community with conservation, with Earth, being outdoors, and really getting in touch with our environment. And next up, we've got Adam Mortenson, and he is from Pelican River Watershed District and a regular guest here on Hodge Podge. Good morning, Adam.
Morning, Carol.
Yes, so welcome to the Hodge Podge Earth Hour, and of course Pelican River Watershed District works with water quality and kind of monitoring our rivers and lakes and streams, and just making sure that they remain some of the most pristine in the state.
Yeah, absolutely. We're kind of starting up with our monitoring this time of year. We've been out to all our stream sites so far, and we've checked our staff gauges, and done our repairs. We have our automatic water level loggers out, so we can track our water level every half hour throughout the day through the whole summer. So we've started on all that stuff. We've started seeing what's going on this year. Water's flowing, lakes are starting to open up here and there. So it's really good to see things start to move this summer. I'm ready for summer for sure. So one of the big things we look for with that water quality monitoring is we monitor the nutrients. So phosphorus is the big one that we look at, and that ends up in the lakes, and that's kind of what causes those big algal blooms. Algae in the lake aquatic plants are just like your plants in your yard. They use these nutrients to grow. So if you've ever seen that green slime on the lake towards the end of July, or these mats of algae out there, that's related to the phosphorus that's running into the lake. And a big thing that we do here at the watershed is we kind of help people to manage their stormwater that captures that phosphorus and eventually gets to the lake. We help people to manage their stormwater a little bit better on their property. So today I just kind of like to touch on a few different things, that you can do at your own personal property to help the water. And we were talking about fertilizer a little bit earlier, and one of the things I'd like to mention is when you get a bag of fertilizer, it's got those three numbers on it, the 10, 10, 10 or 30, 0, whatever. So that's actually your nitrogen, your phosphorus, and your potassium. So when we're fertilizing our lawns, lawn fertilizers come with zero phosphorus in them. And that's kind of, once again, that's what's making the algae grow in the lake. So one of the things that we like to request that people do is make sure they're using a lawn fertilizer on their lawn, and make sure they're using it at the proper rate. The label on the bag kind of mentions how much your lawn will need to grow. So if you put more than that, at that point it's just wasted. It can actually hurt your lawn, and it'll wash off into the water, and it'll cause more problems for the lakes and whatnot. So first tip, make sure that you're using the proper fertilizer on your lawn and using it at the proper rate. And also with that, look at capturing your stormwater on your site. Control your irrigation. Irrigating too much can run off your property, and maybe putting in a rain garden, or maybe some French gutters or something like that to capture the water before it runs off your roofs and your driveways and your walkways and all that and into the city storm sewer, because every little bit we do can help with our water quality and help reduce those potentially harmful algal blooms.
All right, Adam Mortenson from Pelican River Watershed District, some great tips there as we are heading into the season of lawn keeping and gardening. And Adam, thank you so much. I know that Pelican River Watershed District is going to join us for our Earth Week Hodge Podge on Friday too. I think either you or Tara will be on the station to talk
and I won't be joining for that. Tara decided to take that one, and she's going to be talking a little bit about climate change and stuff like that. So she's really, really excited to be expanding on that and talking about the effects that we're seeing in climate change within our district.
All right, very good. Adam Mortenson from Pelican River Watershed District. Thank you so much, Adam.
Absolutely.
And continuing with our Earth Hour Hodge Podge today, meanwhile, just wanted to mention, too, one of our sponsors, too, is American Agri-Women, bringing this to you today, and also Partnership for Health, a couple of the sponsors for Earth Hour Hodge Podge today. And now we're turning our sights to, we've got Ryan Pesch on the studio with us. He's a local producer.
Yeah.
Also, he is with the Mana Food Co-op there regularly. And so he not only helps produce some of our food, but also helps sell some local food. And I want to welcome Ryan Pesch to the show this morning. Good morning, Ryan.
Hey, good morning, Carol. Yeah, happy Earth Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm an organic veggie grower. I figured out that I'm 20 years in. It's been 20 years since I got into this growing commercially in organic production. So I've officially become an old timer.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about some of this, what got you into producing organic food?
Well, I don't know. I mean, try to give you a short story. I mean,
Okay.
I went to Gustavus Adolphus, and I got really, it kind of relates to the co-op too. I got really turned on to this whole food movement through St. Peter Food Co-op. Led me into just exploring farming more. I love this idea that farming and how we farm on the land is this very tangible act that we can do. It has very real repercussions, not just on the land itself, but in terms of how people are fed, how the supply chain is developed, and all the rest. So to me, it seems like if, as opposed to like, charging Washington and changing laws in order to improve the environment, I did some of that in my younger days. I found farming was a much more straight line in order to make change, positive change in my community. So that's what got me in.
That's a pretty good story.
I don't know. I'm talkative.
Okay. So not only are you helping to produce the food here that we eat, but you're also helping to sell the food from farm to consumer. Kind of helped start up the Mana Food Co-op a couple of years ago, and that's continuing to grow in our community as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Like at our last count, we had over 40 producers within 60 miles of Detroit Lake. So that's certainly meat producers that serve the co-op, produce producers like myself, but also it includes some local artisans like Marie Chambly, who does this really cool pottery that we sell at the co-op. So, we're trying to be an outlet for people to sell their wares, if you will. And we focus on natural, local, and organic products. So, it's not just in terms of healthy food, but also supporting producers that we feel it kind of has a healthy impact on the local economy as well.
All right. And also we have to mention you work with the University of Minnesota Extension Service, correct?
That's right.
Okay.
So I have 3 jobs, I always say. Yeah. Co-op,
right.
Farming, and extension. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's talk. This is great. So what do you actually grow on your farm?
Well, our farm is located near Crystal Lida in Lida Township, hence the name. And we operate a CSA where we're delivering to people each week. So just by doing that, we really we need to grow a very wide variety of items. So we grow about 40 different crops. Last year we had 212 different varieties on our farm. So I'm not going to start listing them. But I mean, I like to go long on the staples. Obviously we do, the standard sweet corn and tomatoes and things like that. But we'll also sprinkle in some specialty things that we wouldn't often see. Say at a farmer's market, like a fresh fennel or some different kind of Asian greens or some things like that. But I've learned over the years that us as good Midwesterners, we maybe have evolved a little bit past our grandparents in terms of meat. We're not just meat and potatoes anymore, but we haven't gone full on California yet. It isn't like we're eating baby kale all day long yet. So Midwesterners, we like our staples. We like our staple veggie crops. So I don't want to challenge people too much.
Right, that's good. That's
Yes.
good. I'm sure that's what you find, because you don't want to waste anything if you can't sell it. I mean, I'm sure you've sold, obviously you kind of know what people want and you produced what people want, but then you kind of expand their horizons a little bit.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You know, every now and then, even Midwesterners like to change it up a little bit and have an heirloom tomato. You know what I'm saying? But 80% of their purchases are our very standard beefsteak tomatoes, and that's fine. What matters is that we're eating a local tomato that's produced well and with organic methods, right? So it's kinder to the earth, and at the same time, because it's local, less shipping costs, less transportation costs, less of a emission impact. I'd say me and my little Honda Fit driving to Detroit Lakes to get the tomato to you I'm going there anyways. It's not a big deal, as opposed to getting more trucks on the road.
All right, Ryan Pesch is a local organic farmer and also with Manna Food Co-op. And Ryan has been doing this, in the farming operation for 20 years, over 20 years?
20 years this year.
Okay,
so.
All right. There you go, Grandpa.
I know. I'm 43, by the way.
Okay, not a grandpa yet either.
No.
Okay.
11 9-year-old. So.
All right. All right. Thanks, Ryan. And
Thanks.
we're continuing our Earth Hour Hodge Podge this Earth Day, and we've got a few more guests to get to, but we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll return with more on this Earth Day morning, 1340 KDLM.
Now, back to Hodge Podge with Carol McCarthy on KDLM Detroit Lakes.
Welcome back to Hodge Podge this Wednesday morning, 9:03. You're in tune to KDLM at Detroit Lakes, 93.1 FM, 1340 AM. And of course, we are into Earth Hour Hodge Podge. And I want to thank some of our sponsors today. Of course, American Agri-Women are sponsoring the show today, as well as Partnership for Health. And I know Becker County Environmental Services is always a great partner as well. And we'll be talking to Sandy Gunderson in just, right now. We want to welcome Sandy Gunderson onto the program this morning from Becker County Environmental Services. Good morning, Sandy.
Good morning.
We want to hear you. Okay, good morning. Becker County Environmental Services, of course, you are a regular visitor in the KDLM studios talking about the recycling program Becker County has going on. And I see your background is a little bit about recycling too.
It absolutely is. For us, Earth Day is every day. And I think for most of us on today's show, it's one day we get to highlight it though.
Right. So let's talk about it. How is it going? How are we doing recycling?
We're doing great. Folks are doing a great job of recycling in Becker County. We continue to increase our recycling volumes. And just to kind of remind people that recycling, and it's actually the 3 R's. Everybody's heard of the reduce, reuse, recycle. And reducing the amount of waste that you consume is important. And then reusing something if you can't, if it's difficult to reduce it. And then recycling is the last thing we can do. Just kind of reminding people that everything we do, all our social systems set up for buying and purchasing and that kind of thing, can impact the environment. It depends on what you buy and how you dispose of it. We eventually see it out at either a transfer station or in the recycling bins, and it really is important. And so just looking at the impact on what you buy, how does it impact the environment? Just kind of reminding folks to be maybe think about take your intention and really think how is this going to impact the environment, if it will even impact the environment, and then going as such. So can I reduce this? Can I reuse it? Can I recycle it? And there's just some really simple things, just the many decisions that we make during the day, that in our homes, in our workplaces, in our communities, that we use and that we eventually dispose of. And so it's just some simple things. Energy consumption, turning off a light. We've all heard this. That's using alternative energy if possible, solar energy, wind power, how we buy things, how we, and just as Ryan said, really buying locally has the least impact on the environment. And we're also supporting the local economy. And then sometimes if you're buying, let's say, food locally, you don't have to pay for the packaging, and so therefore you don't have to throw it away. It's awesome. And then the benefits of recycling. For me, recycling, everybody kind of gets what recycling is. And it takes, for example, if you recycle a piece of paper rather than throw it, it takes 70 to 90% less energy to make recycled paper than it does to make virgin paper. And then also, it really has did you know that paper has a journey? It actually gets recycled 5 to 7 times before the life of the piece of paper is done. So it goes from making a virgin piece of paper, and then it goes and it makes into a cardboard box, then into paperboard, like a cereal box or a Kleenex box. Then it gets made into newspaper, egg cartons, and then finally tissue paper, toilet paper, that kind of thing. So there is a life beyond the initial use.
All right. Sandy Gunderson from Becker County Environmental Services and Reduce, Reuse, Recycle. And Sandy, we've got to wrap it up here quickly. And what's your, what would you like to say to leave people with other than reduce, reuse, recycle?
In this season, composting really comes up. So that's nature recycling. So if you can compost in your own backyard, make your own black gold. It's awesome, and we have some great information. If you want to give our office a call, 846-7310, we'd be glad to point you in the right direction.
All right, very good. Sandy Gunderson from Becker County Environmental Services on the Hodge Podge, our special Earth Hour Hodge Podge, this Wednesday morning, celebrating 50 years of Earth Day with lots of local guests on the show today. Also, Kelly Blackledge is joining us. She is here from Tamarack National Wildlife Refuge and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Kelly was on yesterday talking about birds and climate change, and she's back and made her way on to Zoom. And good morning, Kelly. Happy Earth Day.
Well, good morning. Yes, it is a bright Earth Day today. That's great.
So, Kelly, let's talk a little bit about some of the things that I heard a loon yesterday. You were talking about maybe in the future, because of climate change, loons will be moving more north in finding their climate. But I heard one yesterday, and I saw a lot of birds out because of the migration is coming this time of year. And I saw some bugs, so there are food sources out there as well.
That's right. This is the perfect time of year to focus on birds. You know, spring, when they all start coming back, it's such a good feeling to have that normalcy of, yep, migration is happening and things are waking up, and what a great time to watch. But certainly with climate change, that can change, right? So sometimes we're seeing some of our spring things happening a little earlier. Some years it doesn't feel like it, but there's definitely some change happening in terms of the amount of water that we are seeing, the flooding, the droughts in different areas, those extreme temperature changes and fires, all of those things are changing our habitat in ways that are also changing the birds that we're seeing out and about around us. And, if we don't make some changes to how we live and operate on the earth, that is going to continue to change. And we're going to continue to see things like sea level changes and, all of those things that we know come with the change in temperatures around the globe. So birds that are migrating, obviously, are certainly having seeing some changes. A lot of our birds spend the winter down south, including our loons that are spending the winter in the Gulf areas. A lot of our shorebirds are down there, and those sea level changes are really making an impact on the coastal habitat that is where those birds are getting food. So that's changing what we're seeing up north as well. We need some healthy habitat for their wintering grounds. We need healthy habitat for those stopping places along the way. And then for those species that come and nest up north, we need to provide those that habitat here as well. So definitely seeing some changes in the populations of birds. I think as Audubon came out with their climate change report, I find it interesting. If you were alive in 1970, in your lifetime, you have seen already a change, a decline of 29% of our breeding birds today. So that is a significant change, and that continues to change with some of our other bird populations. Again, a lot of it is habitat change that's happening, and we can do some things on the ground up here to improve habitat for nesting birds, and as well as all of those climate change actions that we can make today.
All right, Kelly Blackledge from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Tamarack National Wildlife Refuge, talking about birds and climate change here on our Earth Hour program today. And just about 30 seconds, Kelly.
Well, I will invite everyone to go bird watching this spring. This is a great time to get involved in citizen science projects, document the birds that you're seeing. It has a great impact in terms of how scientists are collecting information about birds. As you know, we've started to see cardinals in our area, and that's a big change. And we know that because people are keeping track and documenting those things. So get your eBird app, your iNaturalist app, all of those things, and keep track of the birds in your yard.
All right, Kelly Blackledge, thank you so much. Continuing our Earth Hour broadcast here on KDLM, celebrating Earth Day. And up next, we've got Erika Gilsdorf from What Fuels You, talking about e-vehicles and some of the work that she's been doing traveling around. Good morning, Erika.
Good morning. And Kelly, I have my Tamarack shirt on for you. Happy Earth Day, everyone. Thanks for doing this, Carol. I work for TV3, and I went to film the West Central Climate Action's EV display, and I got really engaged with that. And it's I always thought EVs were, electric vehicles were out of reach for me. Like, wow, that's too expensive. So I started looking into it, and what happened was we did a road trip called it What Fuels You, an Electric Road Trip. We ended up driving all around Minnesota, learning about EVs and where charging stations are and how you do it, and also talking with regenerative agriculture and a brewery that uses solar power and a coffee place that uses organic fair trade coffee and geothermal heat. And anyway, it just turned out to be really fun, and I met a lot of cool friends too. So did you know that Carol, I think you know this, that transportation is one of the leading causes of greenhouse gas emissions? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's going up. And so, and that's due to, low gas prices, increased freight. People are driving a lot, and also the increase in buying low efficiency pickup trucks, SUVs, that kind of thing. So, but the good news is that EV and hybrid vehicles have raised in the last couple of years. So MnDOT sent me, they increased about 13,000, an increase of 37% between 2018 and 2019. And what's making it easier is charging stations are getting put up. So American Lung Association, who we videotaped, have put in through a project of theirs 11, and MPCA is putting in 20. So it's easier now for us outstate to get around with our EV charging.
Great. Yes, and I know Detroit Lakes is putting in, I think this summer, probably in a short time, they'll be putting in a couple of EV charging stations, and I think they're going to get up to 6. So that's great. Yeah, and there's getting to be, they're affordable. There's lots of different levels now. I mean, so
I'm looking forward to my next car. I'm already looking into it. Is going to be probably a hybrid, because up here we're not totally ready for 100%. There aren't enough chargers, but it'll be a good gateway for me to step into that world. And I'm excited about it. It's so much fun to drive an EV. I mean, they're quiet, they're fast, and they just, they're great.
I'm waiting for the new EV bus, VW bus. It's coming.
Oh, I know. I already want one. I've already looked into that too. I'm like, I want one of those. So, and you said you want us to leave with a couple.
Yes.
You want us to leave with a couple things? Okay. So my two things are, one, get involved in learning about climate change, climate resiliency. Great organizations like West Central Climate Action, Minnesota 350, and our local Isaac Walton League are great to offer advice. And also, Matt, you'll like this, drive less, walk more. So bike, walk, consolidate your trips. I see lots of people that just run to the store for this or run to the store for that or go here. Consolidate your trips, bike and walk when you can, and just use less gas and driving in the first place.
Right. And, if they are running to the store, actually run to the store.
There you go. Run.
Use your words. Take action. All right. Erika Gilsdorf, she has a great show, What Fuels You, and I know that those are online. If people want to check those out, certainly do so, and you will be on the show tomorrow on Hodge Podge, talking more about that. So looking forward to that.
Fuels You. It's What Fuels You USA, so you can look up all our shows on there. They're really cool.
All right, very good. What Fuels You USA, and some good information out there on a little travel, folks, other organizations using alternative energy and also e-vehicles. So, Erika, thank you so much. And moving now to, we've got Katie from the Green Corps. She works with Partnership for Health, and she is on the line with us, Katie Katowski. And good morning, Katie.
Hi, good morning.
So, Katie, you work with Partnership for Health, but you are Green Corps. You work with Green Corps, and tell us a little bit about that organization.
Sure. Minnesota Green Corps is an AmeriCorps program coordinated by the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. Members serve on a range of environmental topics across the state. I'm a member in the Air Pollutant Reduction Group, and I'm with Partnership for Health, the public health agencies of Clay, Becker, Otter Tail, and Wilkin counties, and my focus is on active transportation projects.
All right. So what does that mean? What are you working on? And now I'm sure you've been kind of thrown a loop with this whole COVID-19 situation, but are you continuing with that?
Yeah, we're mainly making it easier and more convenient for people to bicycle and give them more transportation options. People may replace some of the short trips they take by car with trips they take by bike, and that can reduce greenhouse gases. And bicycling trips also have the benefit of being active and healthy and reducing other pollutants that impact local air quality, in addition to reducing greenhouse gases. So during my time as a Minnesota Green Corps member, I've been helping cities and universities complete applications for bicycle-friendly community and bicycle-friendly university awards. It's a national award, and those who receive it can be awarded it at a bronze, silver, gold, platinum, or diamond level. And we apply for the award to potentially be recognized for achievements, but also as a way of assessing how bicycle-friendly the communities and universities are, and identifying ways to improve on this in the future.
All right. So that's great. And so how are you implementing all of this stuff now during this time? I mean, this time probably more than ever is an opportunity for people to maybe use those different modes of transportation.
Yeah, it's definitely changed the planning. Things like bike rodeos and community rides aren't able to happen this year, but it's something to look forward to in the future. And on an individual level, biking is a great thing you can still do now, even if it's not in a group.
All right. Katie Katowski with Partnership for Health. She works with the Green Corps through Partnership for Health, and a great information. And I know that you've been in the studio before, and hopefully we will see you again before August, before your time is up. But you take care and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
All right, and continuing with our Earth Hour this morning. Earth Hour, of course, is brought to you by the sponsorship from a number of groups, including American Agri-Women and also Becker County Environmental Services, Partnership for Health, and we appreciate them as sponsors. And we've got lots of great guests this morning on Hodge Podge celebrating Earth Day, 50 years of Earth Day. And also joining us this morning from Becker Soil and Water Conservation District, I've got Phil Dahl. And good morning, Phil.
Good morning. Great spring day for Earth Day.
It is. This is probably the best day in a while. Sun is out, birds are singing. And Phil, you're going to talk a little bit about pollinators today. I haven't seen too many pollinators out yet. It's a little cold for that. But what can you tell us this morning?
Well, where do we want to start? On their
well, first off, talk about the importance of pollinators for our planet, and then describe what, I think of bees, but there are more pollinators out there than just bees.
That's right. It's been said many times that, for our food supply, 1 out of every 3 bites of food that we take is a direct result of pollination and pollinators. So from that standpoint alone, they're extremely important, and we wouldn't be here without them. So they've gone through a lot of challenges, and the challenges that they're facing are pretty much a result of our actions on the planet. Everything from development, habitat loss, climate change, invasive species, agriculture, all those things are decreasing their populations. We see it with monarch butterflies, those populations decreasing. We see it with our new state bumblebee. The rusty patch bumblebee has declined over the last couple decades to near extinction levels, and we see it with other species. Even starting to see it with stuff that we grew up with, synonymous with summer, like fireflies. Those things are declining, and we're just not seeing those around as much as we used to. So it's our job now to reverse these trends and create habitat. And one of the best ways that we can do that without altering our spaces or reducing our agricultural landscape is to look at spaces like our yards, our lawns, and rethink how we use those spaces and relook at changing them to better serve our pollinators. So lots of opportunity, and it's easy things to do.
All right, and some of the things that we can do, of course, we were talking about planting gardens. That's a great thing, obviously, but flowers are a good thing. You also, through Becker Soil and Water, do you have a couple programs that people could start with? I'm thinking of lawns to legumes and also some of your native plant kits.
Yeah, the Lawns to Legumes was started by the state legislature. They put some money towards this program, and it's gotten an enormous amount of attention. At national attention, it's been in news media. Different states are enacting similar programs, but it's a chance for landowners, homeowners to apply for cost share. There's a cost share application period open right now for $350. And that money is then used for your home to plant native plants. The application period closes June 2nd, so if you're looking for that, it's online, and it's at the best place is probably just to Google or do a search for lawns to legumes, and you'll find it. It's an easy application process. I've done it myself, so I'm waiting to see if I get picked. But also at our office, we do sell native plants. You can buy anything from an individual plant species if you've already got a garden established and you're looking for just one species to add here or there. we can get you those. And we also sell kits, multiple species. They cover 50 square feet, 36 plants, and they range in price starting at $65, I think. So plants for everything, sunshine, shade, wet, dry. There's a native plant for every situation. So.
Okay. All right. Very good. So Phil Dahl is with the Becker Soil and Water Conservation District joining us on this Earth Hour. And Phil, that's some great information and a great way to kind of wrap up our Earth Hour today, celebrating 50 years of Earth Day. And I guess also Becker Soil and Water Conservation District donated a couple of free apple trees for our listeners, lucky listeners today. So I am going to give that a number to call out here, and the first one in with that to call in will get a certificate for a Freedom and a Liberty bare root apple tree. So 2 trees, and you can you'll get the certificate, and then you can arrange to pick those up. But that's very cool, and I want to thank Becker Soil and Water Conservation District for donating that.
Absolutely. Can I add one more thing?
Yes.
We do have milkweed packets, seeds for free. If you're looking to have milkweed in your yard, you can call the office and we can arrange pickup. They're free. We've got a ton of them. So feel free to grab 1 or 5 or give them to your friends or whatever.
You know, I did. I took one of those packets, and now I have lots of milkweed in my backyard. I love it. And I see they're probably going to start growing here in a little bit. You just need 1 packed, and then you're set, I think, for years.
You are, yeah.
All right, Phil Dahl, and I want to thank everybody for tuning in today, and for my guests, Scott Sonstegard, Matt Davis, Adam Mortenson, Ryan Pesch, Sandy Gunderson, Kelly Blackledge, Erika Gilsdorf, Catherine Katowski, and also Phil Dahl for joining me here today on our Earth Hour Hodge Podge and celebrating 50 years of Earth Day. And thank you all so much for joining on this and during this unprecedented time on this unprecedented show here. You're making radio history being our Zoom guest this morning. So thank you all, and great to see your faces, and stay well.